Hello, everybody. One more day we are here. This time we are going to talk about time, how to manage your time effectively. First of all, to manage your time, you must have this in mind. This is very important. You must prioritize your tasks, and that is done by selecting which ones are more important, less important, more urgent, less urgent. So in the first quadrant, we have the most important tasks and the most urgent ones as well. That is, those are the ones that, well, you have one of those on your table, you should commit to finish this task before anything else. It's not ideal to have any task in this quadrant. The ideal is to have in the other quadrant that we are going to see now, but it's inevitable that we have some tasks sometimes here. So like a crisis or problems that show up that are important to solve. All right, but as I say, it is better if you manage your time in the way that instead of having always important and urgent tasks to do, you have the important tasks but not urgent. That means that you have managed your time in the way that you don't leave things for the last minute, right? So you have planned in advance. You say, okay, I have this important task to do. So I'm going to manage the time, I'll plan the time in order to have those ready, and so they don't become urgent. That is always a bit stressing to manage. So another ones that are the urgent, but they are not important. So even if they are urgent, but they are not important, you shouldn't pay too much attention to those, especially if they are not important. So sometimes you have some interruptions, you are working and you have some interruptions, so that is urgent because it's somebody who is talking to you at the moment. But if it is not important, well, you can try to postpone and delegate or other procedures. We are going to see more in detail how to do with this. And finally, not urgent, and on top of that, not important. So probably you can just drop these tasks because they are not giving you any value and they are preventing you to do the most important tasks. So in this quadrant, you are focused on those, you will become an ineffective person, right? So of course it's better to focus here. Right, so once you have this organized, especially, well, if you work as an employee, depending on your position, this might be also important to organize, especially if you are a manager or something like that. If you are just, well, I don't know, as a programmer, as I used to do at the beginning in my career, well, I just need to go sit down in my desktop and do the things that are assigned to me. So you don't need to maybe organize all this. It's just much easier than that. But if you are your own manager, especially if you have a business, for sure you have to do this. Otherwise, time flies and the days pass and you haven't done what you had to do. And also it's very important to have clear your goals. Again, this is not for everybody because, again, if you are an employee, the goals are usually given to you, unless you are a manager. But if you have a managerial position or a business, or even for your life, you can organize the time for your life, for your self-improvement, for your hobbies, also leave some time, etc., etc. But it's very important to have clear the goals, what you want to achieve. And I suppose you have heard about these SMART goals: specific and measurable, something that you can measure. If you cannot measure, you cannot know if you have achieved it or not. So something really specific, something that you can measure, which like a number, like specific data. The A, assignable, Other versions of this model also says that it is A of attainable. That is also related to realistic, attainable, realistic. Assignable is in case you have the chance to delegate, for example. You can assign that task to somebody. And well, realistic, of course, is very important that the goal is realistic, especially if it is a short-term goal. Because if it is a long-term goal, I would say probably better the opposite, especially a goal for your life. You might want to be dreaming to have a ambitious goal. Of course, not overnight. You are not going to accomplish an ambitious goal overnight. But if you have 5-10 years goal, it's much better to be dreaming, to have a very high goal, because that will push you to achieve more. Even though maybe you don't achieve that goal, or you achieve that goal in not at that time, maybe double time. Anyway, having that in your mind, and even better, written down, will push you, will motivate you to go further, to work harder sometimes, use more hours, and eventually will get more things that if you just set not so fantastic goals, no, like mediocre goals. So realistic, again, depending. If it is short term, of course. If it is long term, better to be dreaming. And time related. So it is also very important to have a deadline. Otherwise, you say, yeah, I want to do this, but you leave, okay, tomorrow I will do it, tomorrow. But if you have a deadline, and then especially when the deadline is approaching, you will work much more focused and harder to achieve that goal. And also we have here, let's turn this around, about the goals. They have, you have to take action, and there is a result you want to achieve. There, as I said, there is a deadline, there are some means and conditions, and well, if it is only you, the person in charge is you, but there could be a task that can be for your team, or for another person that you can give the task. So there is another person in charge. Okay, now we saw this a few weeks ago, the 7 habits of highly effective people. We are not going to see this in depth, but we are going to see especially the first part, because it's also very related with this. Stephen Covey said there are 7 points in order to achieve, to be an efficient person. And especially the first ones is where you achieve the personal win, when you go from dependence to independence. And well, the first one is to be proactive, to take action, and to be proactive in the things that you can manage, you can achieve. Otherwise, it's like you have, this is your circle of influence, and this is your circle of concern. So you are focused on your circle of concern, maybe, I don't know, like the politics. Well, if you are a politician, of course, that would be your circle of influence. But if you are not, maybe you are spending too much time and worrying too much about things that you don't have power on. So instead of spending your energy on that, focus on the things that you can handle. Okay, so this is your circle of influence, and if you focus, you are a proactive, you have a proactive focus, and you put the positive energy on that, then your circle of influence will grow. Now, begin with the end in mind. Again, this is about having a goal, a vision, and put first things first. That is very related to what we have seen in the quadrant with the 4 types of tasks. So start with the important things, classify them, and then start with them. And we have this Pareto law that we are going to see more in depth after. That is the 20% of the tasks give you 80% of value. So this Pareto law is for many things. For example, 20% of your friends give you the 80% of the, let's say, the love to you, the caring. Or for example, you have a business, 20% of your clients give you 80% of the value or of the revenue to your business. So you should focus especially on that 20%, and leave the 80%, maybe even drop it or don't focus too much. So that is the Pareto law. And well, also here, this we are going to see very briefly because it's not so connected to the chat today. Think win-win, well, it's about connecting to others. It's like your personal win and the interpersonal win with others. So if you want to know more about this, again, there is a recording in the YouTube channel. Let's move on. And because we always have team thieves, some that are internal, like lack of objectives, they don't have goals, you don't have priorities. Maybe you are too much concerned for detail and you spend too long in details, that 80% that give you the 20%, you're spending too much on that. Lack of concentration, too much thinking, inability to say no. We are going to see this a little more in depth. And fear of making decisions, too many things at the same time. So this is the things that you should control internally, because it's still in time for doing other things that give you more value. And then the external things also, that, well, the interruptions, people who call you, some emergencies, necessary meetings. This is also quite usual in companies, that there are meetings and they are too long and usually a waste of time. Emailing, sometimes we spend too much reading the emails. Most of them are not important. So also you should classify your emails, etc. So how to say no to those interruptions? I know it is might sound a bit cruel. No, a person calls you and says, no, I'm working now. Well, sometimes it's good to be nice to people and be kind, caring, etc. But, well, especially if you want to use your time effectively, many times you have to say no. That is the truth. So how to say no? Empathize, listen carefully. So first, listen carefully of what the person is requesting to you, so you understand exactly what they are asking. And then describe the behavior with facts. Also, we saw that in the assertiveness talk. Remember, there was a talk, it was persuasion and assertiveness. So you can see more of this in that talk. So we are going to see also this briefly. It's good to describe things objectively. For example, a person comes to interrupt you. You say, well, I am doing this, that is a very important task for me, and my boss is requesting me, I have to finish by today. There's the facts, right? But also at the same time, it's good to describe your emotions, your feelings, because your feelings is something that the other person cannot rebate. If you say, I am feeling stressed because I have to finish this today, the other person cannot tell you you are not feeling stressed, right? So describe the things objectively, and then also describe your feelings, your mood, so that the other person will hopefully understand. And also, well, you just not say, no, I don't want to help you, I cannot be with you right now. You can explain why, no? Using the two techniques that we have just said, as describe the facts objectively and your feelings, but it could be in a different way. You can explain why. And also, it is good to propose an alternative behavior. So, well, I cannot help you, but I know somebody who can help you. So I give you the number and you can call that person, for example, right? And especially if they understand, or either if they understand or not, say thank you for your understanding, or thank you for respecting my time, right? So that is how we say no. So this is just a review. We have seen how important it is to have goals. We have seen how important it is to classify your tasks. And also, we have seen that there are many time thieves that we must pay attention to and try to avoid. Now, we're going to see something that might sound a bit strange at the beginning, because we are going to eat a frog. Eat that frog. Oh my God. You want to eat a frog? Probably not. But this is a book written by Brian Tracy. And it gives you 21 tips to be effective managing your time. So It's going to be a bit long, but let's start one by one. So we have 3 of these, all right? 3 mind maps of this. So let's start from the beginning. Set the table. That is also related to what we have said before. Decide exactly what you want. So, I mean, have a goal, write it down, set a deadline, make a list of everything that you need to achieve to reach your goal. So you can divide. So you have a goal, you put the tasks that you need to do in order to achieve that goal. Create a plan and take action, of course, and resolve to do something every single day that moves you towards your goal. So if you have a vision and you do every day, sometimes you can work a lot on that towards that goal. Other times you cannot do too much, but you work on that every single day, eventually, well, you probably get there, right? So that is the first one, set the table. Now plan every day in advance. You can do when you get up or when you just go to the office, and you classify the things that you are going to do for that day. But also it can be done at the end of the previous day, before you go to sleep or before you leave the office. And you can have a master list. What I do, for example, I use an application that is called Trello. It's online, it's free. You have different columns that you can put a name of each different column. So I have a column that is day, or today, or tomorrow, week, month, master. So you put the tasks that they are kind of posits, but virtual, and then you grade the task, and then you have all those in the master list, and then whenever you say, okay, today I'm going to do this, and then you move to do the day. And well, today not this, but I'm going to do this tomorrow. So you have organized. And then at the end of the day, or when you are starting the day, you put in the column what you are going to do today. So you have very clear what you are going to do that day, and you don't waste time thinking after, or even worse, doing things that are not important and even not urgent. We have seen this already, the Pareto law or Pareto principle. So he says the amount of time required to complete an important job is often the same amount of time required to do an unimportant job. But if we focus, if we don't have this rule clear and we focus on the 80% that is not important, then we are wasting that time. And important is resist the temptation to clear up small things. That is also quite usual. Nobody is safe from this from this practice. Say, oh, I have these little things that let me do this first. And then the problem with that is that you are starting using your energy on those things that, and your brain start focusing on different things. And then when you finish, instead of starting the important task with the full energy and full focus, you have already spent time and energy, and you are distracted. And also it's important to know that when you switch from one task to another task, that there is time and energy that you pay a price to switch tasks. So you are, instead of focusing on one single task, that you eventually you are get to be very focused on that task, and then once you get the state of flow, the work, you are so focused that you work very efficiently. But if you are switching a task and or somebody calls you and then you go back to that task, that has an energetic price. That is, you take more time again to focus again on that task. So be very aware of cleaning up small things more. Consider the consequences. So you can think like, all right, if I don't do this by today, what will happen to me? Well, maybe your boss is not going to be very happy if you have a boss. Or if you don't have a boss, you are your own boss, you have a business, maybe you lose an opportunity for a business opportunity. Or well, you think about the consequences that delay can have, and then if you realize of the consequences and those are important consequences, then you are going to be very motivated to finish that on time, right? Here it says 1, what are my highest value activities? 2, what can I and only I do that if done well will make a real difference for the highest value activities? And then 3, what is the most valuable use of my time right now? Okay. Now, when I read the book, the first time it was like kind of shocking, no? Like, be a procrastinator proactively. So how is that? Well, here it says, you can only get your time and your life under control to the degree to which discontinue lower value activities. So it's about procrastinating on purpose. So that means if you know that there is a task, you have an important task and you have a not important task, and then you are going to say, okay, maybe that task was more important. Let's say you have to finish a task that is not so important by today. Okay, so what what is the student syndrome? To leave things at the last minute, to study for the exam the previous night, or that is the student syndrome. So we can use that syndrome because it's when you feel the pressure when you really focus on that, and there is no more alternative. You have to do it. So, for example, if you have a not important task and you say, I'm going to leave it for now. Imagine that you have to finish today. But anyway, I'm going to focus on the important task. So I'm procrastinating the not important task on purpose. And then you do your important task. Great. And then, well, it is already afternoon or evening, and you haven't finished that less important task, but you have to do it today. Anyway, you have procrastinated it, and as a good student, you are going to put your effort and focus because the deadline is coming in a few hours. Okay, so that is the proactive, creative procrastination. More. Use the ABCD method continually. Well, this is very similar to the ABCD that we have seen before. It's not exactly the same, but it's very similar. So the A is things that you must do, otherwise they will have serious consequences. B, things that you should do. If you don't do it, they have consequences that are less serious. C are the things that would be nice to do, but if you don't do them, there is no problem. D are the things that you can delegate. Things that, for example, are not so important and take time, say, okay, because if something is not done correctly, it's not a big problem, I'm going to give that task to, well, if you have an employee or any person that you can delegate, because if that person doesn't do too well, it's okay. Or at least I have time after maybe to check if that person did the work well, etc. And then the E, that is the last quadrant, the not important and not urgent, just drop them. So yeah, this is very similar to the ABC, just seen in a different way. The other one was important and urgent. In this case, is more or less the measure of important, from most important to less important. Here it doesn't take a urgency attribute, but again, you can classify the task in this way also. Let's continue. And then focus on key result areas. Your weakest key result area, set the aid at which you can use all your other skills and abilities. So there is one skill that, if developed and did it in an excellent fashion, would have the greatest positive impact in your career. So you can, I suppose you have done in your life, maybe not, but this exercise that is to measure your strengths and your weaknesses. So if there is any weakness that you have that you developed and you transform into a strength, and that will help you to develop your career in a great way, well, focus on that weakness and create a strength from that weakness. So that is this point. Focus on key result areas. Okay, so far so good. We are here. We have seen 7. We still have 14 more to see. Let's go ahead. Number 8. The law of 3. What is this? If you could only do one thing all day long, which one task contributes the greatest value to my career company, which one is that one? So first of all, you make a list of all the things, all the tasks that you can do. And then you select one that is the most important one, that is the one that is going to make a difference, right? And then you do this 3 times. So you have the most important one, and then you look for the second most important one, and then you look for the third most important one. And then the rest of the ones is like they fade, and say you just, oh, I can see just the 3 most important ones. And these are the ones that I am going to focus on. So that is the law of 3. Now, you can prepare thoroughly before you begin. So, for example, if you are going to do something, a report or something with the computer. So you sit down and say, okay, before sitting down, I'm going to make sure I have some water, I have a notebook here, my phone is off or mute, so I don't have interruptions. Okay, everything is set up. Now I take the first step. Okay, so that is this point. Prepare thoroughly before you begin. Now take it one oil barrel at a time. First, make a list of all the steps to eventually complete the task. So if you have a task, so say what you can divide it in subtasks. First, I have to do is this, and then second. All right, and then second part of this is then take just one step immediately. So I start from the first step. So the first barrel, and then finish second barrel. Okay, that's it. Take one oil barrel at a time. 11. Upgrade your key skills. Continuous learning is the minimum requirement for success in any field. Identify the key skills that can help you the most to achieve better and faster results. Well, this is also similar to another one that we have seen before. Some of them are similar, but anyway, just again, focus on the things that you can improve and upgrade them. This is and continuous in your life. It's it's good to always keep improving your skills. And you have many resources. You can read, do courses, video, audio, etc. And you say, you can set that goal. I want to improve that skill, but you still, you have your work, and once you finish your work one day, leave the office. If you are working in the office, say, okay, and now because I chose this skill that I want to develop, I will focus during the evenings, maybe not all the evenings, but most of the evenings in this to develop this. For example, when I wanted to improve my English years ago, my English was not very fluent. It was quite regular. So I said it's very important to speak English. If I want to travel, I want to live in other countries, that was my dream, etc. So I just joined an academy, English academy, for 9 months, and during those 9 months, almost maybe 3-4 days a week, after leaving the office, I went to the academy and I studied. So that is how you can use this one. Number 12, leverage your special talents. So before we have focused on the weaknesses, but now we are going to focus on the areas where you have talents and also you most enjoy doing, because it's good to develop your weaknesses, transform them in strengths, but if you already have a strength and it's a talent that is not very common, for example, and you can exploit that talent. You can become special using that talent. So also, well, develop more. For example, if you are good playing football and you improve much in football, you can become a professional football player, or in any other area. Now, identify key constraints or limiting factors. Again, we have here the 80-20 Pareto law. In this case, applied to constraints. 80% internal, perceptions and beliefs, skills, etc., and 20% company, boss, co-workers. So you identify them and focus on those that just using the 20% of your time, you can get the most value, or you can, in this case, because there are constraints, you can lose the least. Now we have put the pressure on yourself. Write out every step of your project before you begin. And very important, as I said at the beginning of the presentation, set deadlines and even sub deadlines, and then stick to them. You can make it a game if you want. You give yourself your own deadlines. And then if it is a very big task, you can subdivide it in subtasks and have milestones, that is intermediate goals. And then you yourself put the deadline. That will give you all the pressure. And if you share the deadline with somebody, that will give you double pressure, because you already say somebody you are going to achieve that in this time, and if you don't do it, you are not going to look very good, or a bit of same. So you can take it as a game. Just put the deadlines for what you want to achieve, and well, again, that was great source of motivation. We have finished the second set. Let's move on to the third set and last one. Maximize your personal powers. Okay, ask yourself these questions. What I am doing physically that I should do more of? What I am doing that I should do less of? There are 4 questions, okay? What I can do more of, what I can do less of, and what I should start doing, and what I should stop doing. So it's good to do this exercise for yourself. Say, okay, I'm going to do the list that what it would be good for me to do more of. If I do more of this, it would be beneficial for me in some way. If I do less of this, for example, checking Facebook. If I check Facebook less, better. If I start doing that, for example, if I start doing exercise, I will feel with more energy, etc. Or if you are already doing exercise, maybe you can do more. What to stop doing? I get up every morning and the first thing I do is to check the social media instead of focusing on that task and put my very first energy on that task, because I haven't told you what is about Eat That Frog. I'm going to tell you now. I think is the last point. So you have these 4 questions. These are reflection and exercise that you can do for yourself. And then motivate yourself into action. Develop a positive mental attitude. Share the valuable lesson in every setback or difficulty. We have seen also this in the emotional intelligence presentation that you can watch also in our channel. It's good to have this positive mental attitude and focus on the things that your circle of influence, your area of influence, the things that you can focus and will improve because you work on that. So motivate yourself. And also get out of the technological time sinks. For example, checking the mobile every time to time, social media, etc. You can leave, for example, I stop at 12 for brunch, And during that time, I allow myself to check the social media. All right, that's good. However, if you are working and there is a ping, a message, and okay, what is this? Oh, I'm going to reply. So this is distracting you, losing focus, losing energy. Again, going back to that task will take some energy at time. So it's good to get rid of technological time sometimes, technological things. Technology is your friend. Okay. At the same time, remember that technology is not a bad thing. It's a good thing, but it can be used in a wrong way. The same than our brain, remember. Our brain is a super great tool that we have, amazing, but also it can be used in a wrong way. So motivate yourself to use it in the right way. Now slice and dice the task. Okay, you have to eat an elephant. How would you eat an elephant? Well, one bit at a time. So that's the thing. This is similar to the one of the one barrel at a time, but in this case, it's focused on if you have a big task that is overwhelming, say, oh my God, how am I going to achieve this? It's too much. All right, divide it in small little tasks and start one barrel or one piece of elephant at a time. This is the number 18. Create large chunks of time. So remember that a moment ago I said, for example, for the social media, instead of just checking it all the time, I'm going to use sometimes lunch time, etc. I'm going to focus on that. But from, let's say, 9 to 12, I'm just going to focus on my number one task until I finish that. So you create that large chunk of time and use that time to work on important tasks with the most significant long-term consequences. Make every minute count and develop a sense of urgency. That is also similar to what we have seen before in another point. The sense of urgency is a great motivator. It is used, well, in commercially, like there is only 2 left, come on, quickly, or you will lose the opportunity. Or the offer finishes tonight, and then, oh, okay, I'm going to buy this. So this is a great motivator. The scarcity of time or scarcity of number of items, in this case of time. Trigger yourself into high performance. Move rapidly in every important area of your life. You will be amazed at how much better you feel and more you get done. Well, so again, organize yourself in the sense that you say even, well, sometimes the urgency is real. If you don't finish this for today, it will have serious consequences. But you can set yourself deadlines that are not real ones, but because you said, today I'm going to finish this, and until I don't finish, I'm not going to stop working. And sometimes you finish working late and have dinner late, but you will feel much better because you have accomplished all that you set for yourself for today. And then we come to the key of this book. Single handle every task. Okay. So you set the priorities, A, B, C, D, or however you want to call them. And you decide, for example, if you have more than one A, very important and urgent tasks, then you put A1, A2, A3, etc. And then start immediately on the most important one, the A1. And until that task is not finished, you don't do anything else. You don't pay attention to the mobile phone. You don't check the emails. You don't do anything, only that one. So what is that single task? That is the frog. You set the frog. You said, okay, the frog is this. And I know sometimes it's hard. Is this a difficult task? Or I'm not in the mood. I feel tired to do this now. Or well, it's nasty to eat a frog. Anyway, eat that frog. Eat that frog now. Immediately, start now. And once you eat that frog, what a release. I finish the task, I'm going to feel well because I did my work, and then I move to the next. Well, hopefully the next one is not a frog, it's maybe candy. Anyway, so that is the point. So, classify the tasks, select the number one priority, and immediately start working on that. Avoid any other thing, distraction, etc. And don't do any other thing until you finish the task. So we have reached the end of the Eat That Frog book. What do you think about this? All these tips from Brian Tracy? Well, and remember, as we have seen in other presentations, who is responsible of this? Who is responsible of this is yourself. You have the great power, and this power comes with a great responsibility. So your great power is to set your goals and then accomplish them in an efficient way. And with that, we have finished the presentation for today. Enjoy your evening, enjoy everything, and see you soon.
You too.
Thank you, Cecilia.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Gracias, Esther.
Nos vemos.
Nos vemos. Hasta luego.
Hasta luego.
Hasta luego, chicos.